folks, welcome back. Tim here, Gamiviti. Once again, fun little video time. Today, by request, we're going to be installing our side ladder onto the side of our Land Cruiser here. This will apply to every vehicle that we make a rack for, essentially. As you know, the only requirement is some type of roof rack. Gamiviti racks work great, but you can make this work on other racks as well. I'll show you a little bit of how to do that when we get into it. And you got to have a steel bumper. So the bottom bumper bracket does require some drilling and tapping into actual metal, steel, aluminum. So works steel, SLE off-road bumpers, descent off-road bumpers, bump it off-road bumpers, 4x4 labs, ARB. I've installed it on all of those. So as we get into it, I'll show you a couple of little differences, but our 200's got a SLE. It's gonna get a ladder here in a minute, so let's jump into it. So when you jump into it, your first move then is gonna be deciding where you're gonna install this. Obviously there's a different shape, passenger side, driver's side. Most people are running passenger side, and that's just because the awning's gonna be driver's side, the swing out's usually on the passenger side. It just all works out that way. But in your setup, it may be different. We do make both versions of the ladder, so we already talked about that hopefully before you got your ladder. Next thing is just looking position-wise where on that back plate you're gonna mount it. And note here on the rack bracket, we're using one of our G brackets here. These holes are closer, so 1.5 inch spacing there. So it's not the full 3 inch that you see on like the rack receiver or some of the other accessories. So note that that connecting arm is gonna come out literally halfway between two of the slots on your rack plate. So as you eye your ladder, you can kind of estimate you want to be between one of those slots and then down somewhere around your bumper. So looks like somewhere right about there is going to work well for me. Other consideration, 200 series and 60 series, your gas is on the passenger side. 80s and 100s, your gas is on the other side. So I don't know why they keep changing that around, but anyway, just make sure that you're not going to have an interference issue ladder and when you go get gas. So a little tight. I've got my grid panels up there. I've got my traction ramps up there, but I think I got enough room I can sneak in and get the hardware in for that G bracket. So I'm gonna go ahead and bolt that up right now. Okay, so that's done. Not too many surprises there. I've pulled it out as far outward as I could using the slots in the rack plate. Got my little connecting arm just kind of sitting here waiting to go. If you had one of those extrusion racks, how I've mounted these before is I've drilled and tapped threads in that face there and just mounted that bracket to the outside. That worked well. On a descent rack, I've used one of the bolts and just drilled another hole through that sheet metal so I could install this right there. That worked well. So again, if you can get this bracket to mount up to the either on the outer face or on the top of the rack or the bottom of the rack preferably, you can make this ladder work with just about any rack out there. So your next move, kind of a fun one, you're gonna turn your ladder upside down and you're gonna go ahead and install the bumper bracket to the ladder. And you'll notice on the bumper bracket, this guy goes one of two ways. So if you feel like you need a little more height, you can run it this way. If you think you can get away with it being a little bit lower and you wanna be able to have it hang down on the end, you can run it this way. That's what I'm gonna try to start. We'll see how that goes. Okay, so I've got my lower bracket installed. That's what that looks like. I did add a couple little washers just to get that gap really nice. I noticed the bracket was a little bit wider than the ladder. I just wanted to clean that up a little bit. So next move then is going to be attaching the ladder to that upper connecting arm. And in this case, you just want to be careful you don't scratch your truck. But hopefully that bottom bracket is going to hit on the steel bumper and really can't do much damage down there. But we'll be gentle, but just gonna lube this thing up a little bit. Don't try that at home. Slip it through the first of the two rubber grommets in the ladder. Show you what that looks like. And then align it with that connecting arm and slide it through. See how this goes first time here. And there we go. So the ladder is suspended by the connecting arm and just laying there. So next move, gonna get some kind of tape. I'm gonna tape that bumper bracket on. We're gonna fit check this, make sure we like exactly where it is. So first thing I'm noticing as I go to fit check this is I kind of like it right there, but ladder is just touching the body here. So that's why I supply a second connecting arm to give me a little bit more room up front. So I'm gonna pull this off and I'm gonna double up those connecting arms. I'll show you what that looks like here. All right, so I've got 2 connecting arms up there now, and this gap's a lot better. So you wanna be able to get your fingers behind here just so the ladder doesn't touch the body. Anyway, so that's what that looks like now with the 2 connecting arms. So my tape wasn't working as I had hoped. Maybe duct tape would have been better, but I got this. I'm just gonna hold this up here with my knee, line it up how I like it. Got my alignment nice and straight up there. I got my clearance for the gas door. This is gonna work. Just gonna take my Sharpie and mark through these holes, and that's gonna tell me where to drill. So plenty of clearance on these holes, so I don't have to aim perfectly, but we're gonna get it good, don't worry. So we get down to the drilling. This is where you can make your own decision here on what thread type you like. I'm a big fan of the 1/4-20. That's the thread on all the small bolts. So, you know, the little adjustment bolts on your towers for the roof channel towers, all the fairing hardware, all that's gonna be 1/4-20. I already have it around, so that's why I like to use it. If you wanted to go to M6 and keep it, you know, metric for the Toyota, you know, that's a great call also. But basically you're just gonna find your little marks and, you know, and drill and tap your threads. The other option, you could drill through holes if you can get to the back of that and then just hold a nut back there. That would work too. So again, however you want to attach it, but I left that one to you because every bumper's a little bit different and everybody's preferences might be a little bit different on hardware. But this should work well for all of the flat plated bumpers, you know, again, so this is a SLE. It's gonna look the same on a bump it bumper or Descent one. 4x4 lads, if you have that round tube, right? So you got that nice big welded tube that comes around, you're gonna have to shim that out a little bit. So I've seen guys, one guy's actually welded some stuff to the bumper to break it out. I've seen other installs where they're just using a spacer washer. I've seen another guy where he actually drilled the bracket right into that tube. So a few options there. If you have the 4x4 labs and you need some tips there, feel free to hit me up and I'll help you walk you through that and make sure that's as successful as we can make it. Okay, we got my tapped threads complete. So my next move then is going to be, I'm going to remove the bottom bracket, the bumper bracket from the ladder, and then install that bracket to my bumper. So, brackets on, looks good. Next move then is going to be install the ladder back to the bracket, then raise the ladder up and install it to the connecting arm. We should be done. Go, installed. I can get my hand all behind here, pretty secure. Of course it wiggles a little bit and it's intended to, right? That's what this whole connection is on top, is so that all the load from your bumper, from your body, when you go slamming off those ledges, none of that transfers up into your roof rack or any of the bolts that are holding your roof rack to the body. So the body and the frame can operate independently of each other. That's the whole point behind our patent behind this design. So it works pretty decent. Of course, all your load when you're on this, if I already get up here, all my weight's down on the bumper. So again, I'm not transferring any of that up to the roof rack, so the roof rack can remain, independent of all that load. So that's what it does. A couple other tricks I want to show you real quick. I'm looking at the ladder side attachment. You are by no means bound to put the connecting arm between these two welded on bracket pieces here though. So if it looks a little bit better, a little bit cleaner to move this to one side or even this side, by all means do that. The ladder still stays on. Also, you've noticed on this quick release pin, I've run the hoop up, and that's so it doesn't come down and make any contact with the body. Now on the rack side here, this guy can't touch anything, so we're good there. If you feel like this is a little too loose and sloppy, again, it's supposed to move and it needs to be able to wiggle. That's why we have those little rubber grommets in there. But you could replace that with a bolt and tighten that up a little bit. So that might be an option you could consider doing down the road, but you lose a little bit of the quick release thing. So that's why we do the pins. There you go. That's what that looks like. So I swapped out that pin for it's a 1-inch bolt, and I used a nylon lock nut. So that way that can't back off, but it still can move. This thing can still wiggle. So we're all good, but it did clean that up a little bit. So yeah, we might start shipping that out with these ladders moving forward. It's a nice option to give you. Of course, now my only quick release is down here on the ladder side. I'll always have that connecting bracket unless I want to pull out a wrench. And I think with that, we'll wrap it up. So yeah, Gamiviti side ladder installed. I'll do another video on tricks, some other things you can do with the ladder that are a little bit unique to it, and also maybe get into like, why do I need a ladder? Why shouldn't I get a ladder? Really just wanted to keep this one focused on just the install. So I hope that was useful to you. If you have any questions, please let me know. Tell me what else you want to see in these videos. Thank you again for being with me today, and I will see you on the next one.